as they're saying, we don't have anything. We have nothing with the Earth rotating on its axis. We have nothing. We have simulated only, but we don't have anything in film or video, which and I heard it, he has it there. And I heard some of his other ones when he called up NASA. And I find it very strange. I mean, look from the space station. I'm sure they're shooting pictures of the Earth. I mean, that don't make logical sense, because if the Earth isn't rotating, we're not going to have the seasons. We're not going to have day and night. Something, and I don't understand why he would get that type of, information and feedback from NASA.
Well, I want to thank you, because that's brand new to me. I haven't heard anything about the Earth not spinning.
Well, you have now tonight.
I have now tonight. Thank you. But as I'm listening to this, in my head, it's just like flooded with stuff like you said. Well, how could there be seasons? How come the sun comes up every day? There's a whole host of questions that would have to have an alternative answer to everything that we've been taught. But you know what? After what happened in 2009 to me, I've listened to anything. I haven't been on the space station, so I don't have firsthand knowledge of what the Earth looks like from space. And I will have to admit that some of the footage that is being portrayed as photographs and video from the space station don't look right to me.
No, I've noticed that.
I really don't know what to make of it, Gary.
Well, it could be one thing. We were talking about, our life and our existence on this planet could be we could be living in the Matrix, computer simulation. That's what he's claiming.
Well, he's not alone. Greg Braden is a pretty knowledgeable scholar, and he just did a whole series on missing links about that he postulates that a post-human civilization is creating this whole realm for their own purposes, and they can kind of interject really weird things, to see how the people react, like, throw a lake monster or a flying humanoid in there just for, giggles. So who knows? But the one thing I will tell you is that when your physical body dies, there's a big aha moment, because you know a lot more on the other side than you do here.
I'm going to throw one on you, and I got a feeling this might bother you tonight when you go to bed. Art Bell was a friend of mine. I known Art for a long time, and we call each other up, or he would mainly call me a couple times a month, and we would talk. I was in retirement, and he's the one that talked me to get out of retirement and not ride my Harley and get back and doing a talk show. I've been in radio off and on since 1976 doing paranormal radio shows. Now, Art Bell originally was not doing paranormal. He was doing a political, everyday type of talk show, back in the 70s and 80 type talk show. And one of his listeners came in, and that was John Lear. And that's how Art Bell met John Lear. And Lear said, "Hey, Art," because he could tell Art was kind of getting burned out doing political talk shows, okay? And said, "Hey, do a show with a paranormal. Talk UFOs, talk this, talk that." And, Art thought about it, and he goes, "You're right." And that's how Art got established, with his original talk show. But there's one thing that John Lear always used to tease Art Bell with, that when you die, you see the light, and then you see darkness. And he kept telling Art, don't go to the light. Don't go to that bright light. That's the trick. You want to go where it's dark and calm. And I'll tell you, I talked to Art about a week before he passed, maybe even a little less than that. And he was worried about his age, because he was, in the 70s now. And you know what? It really, he brought that up to me again. He goes, "I don't know, when I die, do I go to the light or do I go to the dark?" And it really bothered him. What's your feeling on that?
Well, number one, John Lear says a lot of interesting things, and he's a really interesting character to me, because he's flown just about anything that you can think of, and he's obviously a really smart person. But then he comes off with, the planes on 9/11 were holograms, and there's a human civilization on Jupiter, and all this sort of stuff. So you just have to listen and say, okay, I know he's not crazy. He's a really smart person. Why is he saying this if it isn't true? So it coordinates with a lot of what Wes Penry says. I don't know if you're familiar with the Wes Penry papers, but there's this new line of thinking that the tunnel that people see is some sort of trap that'll send you right back here in some sort of reincarnation. And the whole idea is to avoid that whole scenario, because the idea is that we're supposed to be traveling throughout the multiverse wherever we want to go, like Doctor Who, and this group that has plays control over the Matrix keeps sending us back to Earth, and kind of like a eddy current. We're stuck here until we figure out the Matrix and learn to escape. But I'm not really worried about that, because I came close enough to death myself that I know that there's familiar entities on the other side that are going to welcome me over. There's a higher version of myself that knows a lot more than I do that I'll reemerge with. I'll no longer be in superposition, but I'll be reunited in a higher state of probability. So I really don't worry about any of that. But there could be a kernel of truth to that.
Yeah, I have thought about that, and I never really thought about that too. Art brought that up. And, he brought it up to me probably 4 or 5 times through the years. But when he brought it up about maybe 4 days before his death, it kind of, after he passed on, it really kind of, I'm getting up in age. I'm 67. And, I'll be honest with you, when you start getting, I don't know your age, but when you get up to a certain age, you don't look at life like when you're at your 20s or 30s or 40s. You start thinking, okay, well, what am I going to do here 5 years from now? Not 20 years from now.
I've even thought there might be bifurcating timelines ahead of us. If you look at the material that Alana Freeland presents in Under an Ionized Sky, with all the nanoparticulates that are already in our bodies from the chemtrails and the barium and the lithium and the aluminum particulates, she believes that they're trying to create something called a space fence lockdown, which is global surveillance down to the DNA level. And if you have this other ET race that are involved in capturing certain portions of our technological singularity for their own purposes, possibly to seize the planet as a planetary asset and control all the flora and fauna, including humans, down to the DNA level for their own purposes, it makes sense. But what I'm hoping and what I'm looking for is, I keep drawing from the example of the Cree from 1956 to 1967, that they are real, they exist. Their photos and videos have been authenticated in optical labs. I think it was a real case. And apparently positive singularities where people make it through this big crisis of technology and make it to the other side of that without ill effect, and sort of a dream life is what I would like to achieve. So if there is a bifurcation of timelines where one of them goes into the Draco reptilians or the Orion Greys, who are going to capture the planet and seize it as an asset, because that's what they do throughout the whole galaxy. And then there's this other 5D ascension group where, you go into a higher density with positive super beings. I'd rather be with the positive super beings. So I'm doing everything I can. I'm 60. I'll be 64 this year, by the way, Gary. Yeah, so we're not too far apart in age. And I know exactly what you mean, that you think differently. Like you see on Facebook, people are so worried about the climate right now and everything's going on. And I'm thinking, well, I'm going to be transitioning within probably a decade statistically. So I guess if I don't do my soul work, I'll be manipulated as a fetus in a laboratory by an AI and brought up on a prison planet. And then if I do my soul work properly, maybe I'll resonate with the higher beings, and I won't have to come back here and, I'll live the 5D existence or what people call heaven or whatever. But that's the one gift that I was given from 2009, Gary, is that I'm not worried about physical death at all. I still don't like pain, but the comfort, you asked me what it felt like, it's like the comfort and the love that you feel is just really hard to describe to another person. It is otherworldly. It's really fantastic. It's great. and I really, really look forward to passing from this world. I'm what you call a no code. We work in the nursing homes, you know, and people are full codes where they want to be brought back, you know, no matter what condition they're conscious again, whether they have a tube in their throat or whatever. But I'm a no code. It's like if I'm unconscious and you can let me go, just let me go.
I got to ask.
I'm really looking.
I got to ask you a question since you work in the nursing homes. Now, my father, you know, he passed away, about 14 years ago. But, you know, it was really funny. My dad, first, he went through dementia, and then he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And I watched him go from a brilliant man to hallucinating to not knowing who I was, going into a vegetable state. And then he was in a vegetable state and lived almost a year. I get a phone call. Now, his nursing home was in Shelton, Washington. I was living at the time, you know, about maybe 60 miles away, 70 miles away. I get a phone call. The doctor is really upset. He says, your dad came to, he's totally coherent. He wants to see you. And he wants to see the kids because he knew I had, you know, children. You know, so I'm going, wow. I mean, he was physically brain dead, you know, from all medical, you know, all the testing they did for the year. And I go there. He's sitting up in his bed. Okay. He recognized me. He, you know, asked me if I still had my business. He was, you know, we had like a half an hour talk. And he was totally coherent and sharp as could be. And then at the end of the conversation, he asked for a sandwich. He tried to eat it, but he couldn't. And he started telling me about my mom came and visited him. Well, my mom died about 5 years before he did. And then he started talking about my uncles. Now, they all died in the 50s. And I think one died in the early 60s. And they said they all came to visit him. And he looked at me, he said, son, I love you very much. You have to go now. And I go, well, I want to hang around. He goes, no, you got to go now. I'm going to go meet my wife. And
how cool.
And you know what? I get in the car. I go home. By the time I get home, I get a phone call. I was told he died like 20 minutes after I left. And I just found that so freaky through the years. How could somebody be gone through and suffer dementia as long as he did, then Alzheimer's, and go through the whole stage of, you know how Alzheimer's patients are. It went through all that stage to a vegetable, and then come back and be coherent and talk about his wife or my mom. Her brothers, all five of them, and was telling me about how beautiful the life is going to be for him. It was just shocking. And have you seen that working in a nursing home?
Absolutely. Your story fits 1,000 of them. It's very, very common for somebody at the last 24 hours of their life here on Earth to snap out of Alzheimer's or dementia or whatever they have and have a few moments of absolute lucidity. And my take on that is that as we get older and as our faculties diminish, our consciousness actually vacates from here and goes more to the other side. And we associate more with the people on the other side than we do right here. So this experience of mine has changed the way that I look at my clients. They may be decrepit in a wheelchair and 97 years old and not be able to respond very much. And I've actually got down and looked at them face to face and addressed their sixth density higher self. And sometimes they just look up, their eyes get a little wide, and it's like there's somebody else there all of a sudden. And I think the higher self on the other side knows when the physical body is going to die, just like my people came to see me. And your consciousness is suddenly reinvested into your physical body, so you can say your last goodbyes or whatever, and then you go. And your story is actually very common. There's a lot of people that that happens to, where at the last minute there, right before they pass on, they gain a few moments of lucidity, and it really freaks people out when it happens because they're used to them not being recognized, as you say. And dementia is a very heartbreaking thing because people feel like their loved one has abandoned them. And there's even anger involved in it. And then at the